Hello. In this video, I'll be going over my top trades taken this year in 2022. So the year is coming to an end, and I was just doing some reviews, looking at my past trades and picking out the good ones to kind of analyze and see why I did well in those trades and how I can replicate that success in the future. So I picked out 6 trades that were my most profitable this year. These were mostly USD pairs, JPY pairs. There's a couple of Swiss franc trades in here. So yeah, it was a really good year for the dollar. It was strong for most of the year. The Japanese yen was really weak for the same period. So that's why you see most of my trades here are in USDJPY or Swiss franc JPY. And I actually had a USD Swiss franc trade that was pretty good this year as well. Okay, so I listed all these trades. These are just rows from my trade log, but I will go over these in detail and we can look at the charts. I'll go back in my notes to see what I wrote down at the time taking the trade. So, okay, so let's go into it. This first trade looks like I took it in March 21st. This was a buy at 4:07 p.m. All these times are in Pacific time. That's my local time zone. So I took a buy on the 21st at 4 p.m. Looks like I exited at about 1.5 days later at March 23rd. Making a profit of 117 pips on 2 positions. So each of these netted me almost 5% returns. So this was almost a 10% return trade. So let's see, this was my journal entry. I take screenshots for all the time frames that I'm looking at, and I just make some notes on the side to try and remember what happened. Okay, so yeah, it looks like the weekly setup, it was this ascending triangle breakout that happened, and I happened to catch the trend on March 21st. So this is probably my best setup to trade. It's either ascending or descending triangles. I do trade with the trend, so a setup like this just gives me a lot of conviction that the highs are about the same and then the lows are getting higher, and then eventually I do expect it to break out, and this was one example of that happening. And the opposite is true. If I'm looking for a sell, it'll just be a symmetrical opposite descending triangle. Okay, so in terms of the daily chart, it was also going up in terms of the Ichimoku indicator lines. Tenkan Sen is up, Kijun Sen is up. We have a nice Kumo developing here on the daily time frame. So I think I was specifically trading the 4-hour and 1-hour charts. So the 4-hour, it was just starting to break this resistance level. And then in the 1-hour chart, I entered, right at the Tokyo market session open. And what gave me conviction in this trade was the New York session closed really strong, it looks like. So it already broke the initial resistance, and then it traded sideways for a little while when the market was quiet. And then looks like the Tokyo traders entered to continue this trade. So that was my main setup entry that I was looking at. 30-minute, it's much of the same, just gives you a little bit more resolution. But let's take a look at the 5-minute time frame for when I precisely entered. Okay, so it looks like I entered on the second 5-minute candle. It was probably, it was at 4:07, so I was 2 minutes into this candle. So I think I saw the breakout. I was using Bollinger Bands and stochastics to confirm that as well. So we see Bollinger Bands expanding. It's band walking in the upper direction, causing the expansion. And then we had the stochastics gold cross. So I took a buy right here. set my stop loss. How much was it? 20 pips, 21 pips away towards the previous low, and that was my entry. So, okay, so let's take a look. I already plotted some of the entries here on USDJPY. So let's take a look at this first entry here. I'll use the replay function just to cut out the other trades. But yeah, let's take a look at the 1 hour time frame. Okay, so yeah, this is the same 1 hour candle that you saw just earlier. I took the trade here, and it looks like it did go in my direction, so I was able to set the stop loss. The London session starts at 12 a.m. Midnight my time, so this is usually around when I go to sleep. I will hold on to the trade if I'm able to set my break-even stop loss. So in this case, it looks like it went in my direction. New York saw continued strength, and then I exited on the second New York session after I took the trade. So it looks like the reason why I exited was because the 1 hour time frame, the candle started to close below the Kijun Sen, and it was actually just death crossing with the Tenkan Sen when I entered or exited. And then the Chikou span was going back and touching the price. So normally this would be a range indicator based on the Ichimoku chart. So yeah, looks like this is, I probably would have put my stop loss right here after this pin bar, and then it looks like it triggered early next morning in the New York session. So I was probably not awake when it exited, but this was my trade, and it got me, yeah, 117 pips. So here is some more detailed screenshots of when I exited. This was the 5-minute chart. Yeah, so we did have lower lows forming on this 5-minute chart here. So yeah, it looks, yeah, I was right. My stop loss was set right at the previous spike low, and then I just got exited here. So yeah, this was just me following multiple time frames in 1 hour, 4 hour, and even the daily and weekly breakouts. And yeah, the main conviction was this weekly breakout for this ascending triangle. I usually like to see all the time frames line up in the same trend. It just gives me a larger margin for error in case any time frame does happen to reverse. There's more, traders on the multiple time frames buying with me or selling with me. So yeah, this was a good trade for me. Okay, so the next trade was in April. I was trading USDJPY again. This was on April 18th. Looks like I bought at 9 a.m. Pacific time in the morning, and then I held this trade for almost 2 days, about another day and a half, and I exited at midnight on the 20th. So okay, so I have my notes here. This is my 418 USD buy trade. So okay, so yeah, it broke the previous high several weeks ago, and then I was able to catch this trend afterwards. So let's see, the 4 hour time frame was up, so we see the Kijun Sen pointing up, Tenkan Sen pointing up, and again we see this good setup that I like to trade with, this ascending triangle. So on the 4 hour time frame, you have this flat line where the highs are pretty much the same, but the lows are getting higher. So that means, in terms of price action, the buyers are having more conviction to buy. They're not waiting for the price to come down as much to buy. There is increased urgency as time goes on. And then finally, we have the breakout candle at 6 a.m. in the New York session, and that's when I entered, and the trade just took off from there. And then here is the same picture in the 1 hour time frame. You can see this ascending triangle much clearer, exactly where the tops are, where the lows are. And then this was the breakout. So yeah, I think I entered at 9, so that was the beginning of this candle. So my entry was, yeah, somewhere right here. I was probably looking at the previous 1 hour candle close, and then I entered right afterwards. Okay, so here is how the 5-minute chart looks. Wait a second here. Okay, yeah, so sorry, this was trying to find where my exact entry was. Okay, so I think the screenshot was taken exactly as I entered. So this most recent 5-minute candle was probably when I chose to enter. Just looking at this chart, I probably was watching for the breakout after this alert triggered. I put it right here at the previous 5-minute candle high. So it did get tested, and the candle closed above right here. So I think I was watching the pullback, and then for we did not see the sellers come in to push it all the way down, and we actually saw more bullish 5 candles form. So if you look closely, there is a doji candle right here, and then the next 5-minute candle engulfed it, and then the one after that closed above it. So I probably had more conviction to take the trade here. I was just watching for maybe a couple more candles with these wicks here, and then after seeing the bears on the 5-minute session fail to push it down, I think this was exactly when I entered. So in terms of other indicator confirmations, we do have the Bollinger Band going up, and the price is band walking in between these two deviations. And yeah, we did have a stochastics gold cross a while ago. And even though it death crossed, this is I think called a divergence between the price and the stochastics. Even though the stochastics did death cross, we don't see the price getting sold down. So this would be a bullish indication in this case. So let's see, going back on this chart here, let me find the next entry. Sorry, I have to go out of replay, find the exact point, and then go back into the replay mode. Okay, so this is the second one. Let me just reference the 1 hour chart. Okay, yeah, so this was the ascending triangle for reference in the 1 hour time frame. It broke out upwards, never got sold down, and in fact, yeah, the Tokyo traders were not able to sell it down. These were, in fact, bullish candles. And I'll point out one thing, you can see these getting larger in size. So at the end of the New York session, it was basically trading flat. No one was willing to sell too much to either close out their positions or anticipate a reversal. So that's good to see after a breakout. And then in the Tokyo session, yeah, it looks like the buyers came in as well. We did have a 1 hour doji candle where the price didn't move much, but then the next hour right after it closed bullish above it, and it just kept going on from there. And the London traders, they continued the trend, and this was all the way until the next day. So the second London session was when I exited the trade. So I think I saw this sell-off in the second day's Tokyo session. I was holding it overnight, and then after the sell-off, I think, yeah, I was probably watching the 1 hour time frame. The rebound was not strong. As you can see, there was some sellers covering or some buyers coming in thinking this was value. They bought for 2 hours, and then they basically failed to push it any higher. So this was, I think, when I just chose to exit the trade. Yeah, in terms of the Ichimoku lines, this was flat Kijun-sen in the 1 hour time frame. So yeah, I just chose to exit the trade right here. And then, yeah, I'll show what happened afterwards, but basically USDJPY was trading sideways for 1, 2, 3, 4 days, 5 days almost before it broke out again. So yeah, looks like I did exit correctly in this case. How much did I capture here? This was a 170 pip win. So about 6.7% gain from this trade alone to my account. So yeah, this was another good trade. Okay, yeah, it looks like from my notes, the 4 hour was trading flat as well. So that was another reason for me to exit this one. Okay, I'll skip over USD Swiss franc and just look at all the USD JPY trades first. Okay, so the next big trade was in June. So this was a USD JPY trade on June 7th. Looks like I bought in the Tokyo session at 6:50 p.m. Pacific time, and I held it for a day. Exited at 8 p.m. the next day. This one got me 104 pips on one position and 89 pips on the other position, and altogether this was about a 7.7% gain trade altogether. Okay, I think I reviewed this one and it did not make the top 5, but it's considered like a runner-up trade, and I'll go into details about why that is right now. So let me find my notes here. Okay, 6.7 USD JPY buy. Okay, so just to orient ourselves, here is the weekly chart. It looks like I was watching for the weekly chart to go past the previous high, which it did. We had three weeks of selling right here, and then it bounced on the weekly Tenkan-sen. So in 1 week, the buyers came in and pushed the price all the way back up. That took the sellers 3 weeks to sell back down. And then I entered in the current week, which is right after that. Okay, so in the daily time frame, looks like we made a new high on USDJPY here. And where did I enter? I entered right here. Okay, so this was another push up on the 4 hour time frame. We closed above the previous high, and looking at the 1 hour, okay, so I entered in this almost doji kind of bullish pin bar right here. Yeah, this was the Tokyo session. And you see here. Okay, so here is the 5-minute chart. So you can see exactly why it was kind of a pin bar from the 5-minute chart. So we had this huge impulse, but then it retraced and then it went back up here. Okay, so this is why I don't consider this one of the top 5, but rather the runner-up trade. I don't think I waited for enough confirmations in this trade. I did not wait for the 5-minute chart to pass the previous high, but I think I was looking at this retracement here. So from this candle, we saw bullish buyers to try and keep the price up. There was a doji bar right after it, so that was a range bound for 5 minutes, and then we finally broke out after 10 minutes after that one. So I think I was looking at this doji breakout and thinking that the 5-minute candles were growing in size, so more traders were probably coming in, and I was anticipating this breakout right here, so I entered on this candle. So let me look at the time that I entered. Okay, so this was at 6:50 p.m. Okay, so it would have been right exactly at the beginning of this candle that I entered. Okay, so it looks like it went up and then it got sold back down again, and then it evolved into this wedge trading pattern that took more time to break out. And the reason why I did not exit this trade, I think I saw that it was going into this wedge pattern, and I drew this trend line right here. So I was prepared to exit if it broke this trend line downwards, which it did, but I did not exit right here because it was not like a strong breakout. These were just like small 5-minute candles, so it doesn't look like the sellers had a lot of conviction in this case. And still, taking in the bigger picture, you can see that the price action is still above the previous breakout level. So here is, I think, when the Tokyo session started, the strong buyers came in to push the price up. We had some sellers to try and evolve it into a range, but they were not able to push it back down. So you can see a little bit better from this 15-minute chart. We were right here. But yeah, it was not able to come back into this previous range. So the breakout in the 30 and 1-minute charts still held. And that's why I held on to this position. And eventually it did evolve to break out again. I think this was at 10 p.m. My time. So it broke out again, and this kept me in the trade. From this screenshot, I was looking at the Fibonacci levels as well. So it looks like from low to high, we bounced at the 0.618 level. And then, so I was probably referencing this level. If it, for example, in this candle, if the 5-minute sellers sold really heavily here and pierced down all the way, then I probably would have exited. But yeah, this was an example where I was patient and just watching the trade as it evolved. Even though it did not go right away, I was just patient, watched it for a couple hours. And then, eventually the trade evolved into a winner. But the reason why it's not top 5 was if I was more patient from the beginning and I did not enter here, I probably would have entered somewhere like right here on the next breakout. And that would have just reduced my time for me to set the break even on this trade. So let's see how it looked on the dynamic chart. So I have to exit and go back again. Okay, so this was the third trade that I took. As we can see, the daily went up all the way, so that was another reason why I had a bit more conviction. I knew the daily traders were trading with me. But yeah, it looked like the trade was slowing down a bit after, and in fact I exited right here on the next day. So yeah, in retrospect, most of the move was made before I entered, but if you were looking for the exact high breakout, you could have either entered on the 6th or the 7th like I did. So yeah, let's see the 1-hour chart here. Okay, yeah, so I entered in the Tokyo session, held it overnight, and I probably came back to look sometime during the New York session, and I likely would have set my break even, trailed my stop loss up to one of these higher lows, either at this doji low right here or this pin bar low right here. And then I got taken out of the trade at 8 p.m. the next day. So yeah, this bearish 1-hour candle took me out, and just in time because we had a double top, and then the 1-hour retraced back to the Kumo. So yeah, the Kijun-sen was flattening out by the time I exited. The Chikou span was going back, and I think even touching the candle when I exited. So this was an appropriate exit for me. And yeah, even afterwards, the price, you know, it looks like it went into a channel, but it's kind of choppy to try and trade this. And then looks like we had some strong sellers come in to push the price all the way down. So yeah, this was my third USDJPY trade on my list here. Did I have another one? Okay, I had one more USDJPY trade in July. That was a big winner. I took that one on July 13th. Again, I entered on during the Tokyo session at 6 p.m. my time. Looks like I held this one for 12 hours. I exited at 6 a.m. the next day, making 103 pips with a total of like almost 4.5% gain on this trade. So let's see how exactly I took this one. Okay, USDJPY on July 13th. Again, let's orient ourselves by looking at the higher time frames first. So weekly chart looks like we just had a breakout of the doji going up. And again, if you're not used to looking at a small number of candles, but this is also the ascending triangle that I like to see. And it's more clear if you look on the daily chart. So again, the highs are almost at the same level. You can almost draw a horizontal line here, but noticeably the lows are getting higher. So that's what I like to see for some of my best setups here. And it looks like I entered right as the daily candle broke out of the previous ones. So usually I like to see a test. It may even close above the previous highs. But there's not enough conviction from these buyers to keep it going. We have some of the weak sellers come in. Either they think it's the top of this range or they're closing out their longs. That's how we got this bullish candle right here. But there was not enough follow through. The next one was another bullish candle. And then after this day, basically the strong buyers had enough conviction to keep buying and then push the price past the previous highs here. So yeah, same picture in the 4-hour chart. You can just see it clearer. We had actually another ascending trend line within the bigger daily ascending trend line. But yeah, mostly the price was bouncing off of this one. We had a wedge breakout, looks like in the previous day from when I traded this one, and then it just broke out. This was the pushback from the bears, and then it broke out again in the Tokyo session. Okay, so it looks like in the 1-hour time frame I entered exactly after this breakout 1-hour candle. So this one closed above these two previous highs and I entered right here. What time did I enter? Okay, I entered at 6:12, so that would have been towards the beginning of this candle, which was forming when I took this trade. I did not know this was going to be a doji candle, but my entry was based off the previous candle, so it makes sense it was at the beginning. Okay, so let's look at the lower level time frames for how I took this trade. Let me make this bigger here. Okay, so 5-minute was my, I was looking for like a precise entry. So I think this was the breakout candle, remember? So I think this was at 6 p.m. right here. Yeah, so this candle is 6:10. So I think I saw the 6:05 candle close above the previous 5-minute high. All the other confirmations were here. Bollinger Bands, it was band walking in the upper direction above the 20 SMA. We had gold cross in the stochastics a while ago, and it's kind of just staying high. Remember, this is an oscillator, so it's either going to be high or low or crossing in between. But yeah, this shows the momentum was high and I took this as confirmation. And in terms of price action, there's higher highs, higher lows in the 5-minute. So yeah, I entered right here. So this was 2 minutes into this 5-minute candle that was forming. It ended up forming as a bearish candle with a long tail. No problem. Long tail means it was pushed down and then bought back up. So that's not a reason to exit for me. But yeah, even so, there was, I think, another hour of sideways trading until it broke out again. So even in the 5-minute, you see this ascending triangle pattern. So that means, you know, the sellers, they were trying to turn this into a range by trying to sell at what they thought was the previous highs. But there's enough buyers to keep the lows going higher, and then eventually broke out the same as in the higher time frame. So yeah, I think all these screenshots illustrate what I was looking at pretty well. But if you want to see in the dynamic chart, let me just go back and find this trade. Okay, so this would have been the 4th USDJPY trade. So it was right here. And as it would happen, this was the top of the trade. So yeah, this was my entry. Yeah, it broke out in the Tokyo session, kept going up for until the first half of the London session, I would say. And yeah, I probably trailed my stop loss up until maybe around here. Okay, and then in the New York session, it kind of went sideways. So let me see in my notes if I remember how I exited. Okay, I did not take an exit screenshot here, but I think it, let me check the 5-minute time frame on this chart. Replay. Okay, sorry. So here we are on the 5-minute time frame. Okay, so looks like I exited here at the morning of the New York session at around 6 a.m. So, okay, so I think I saw this climactic high, this sell-off, and then this second rally failed to test this high. And I probably just exited because I saw the price action go flat, both in the 5-minute and 1-hour time frames. Let me see. So yeah, 1-hour Kijun-sen, it went flat right here. So that was one of the leading indicators I take to exit. So yeah, this was, I actually happened to exit at the very top, as over the next several days it just chopped sideways, and then it got pushed down by, I think, the stronger sellers in this market. And if I close the replay, let me see where that trade was on the daily time frame. Okay, yeah, so this 4th trade that I took, it was exactly the breakout and the very high for several days or even weeks here. And then it did not break out of this high until the beginning of September. So yeah, yeah, I was able to capture the last maybe 100 pips in the USDJPY trend in July. Okay, so yeah, those are all my USDJPY trades. I have 2 more trades, USD Swiss franc and Swiss franc JPY, that I'll go over. So let's look at the USD Swiss franc trade. This was on May 19th. I took it at 12:31 a.m., which would have been the London session open, half an hour into the London session. And then I held it until next morning at 8:42 a.m. my time. I made 97 pips on this trade with 3.88% gain on each position. So yeah, more than 7% gain on this trade. And I think I was selling this one. USD Swiss franc was actually, I think, very volatile this for a part of this year, when it just traded up and down, I think several hundred pips in a range. Okay, yeah, so this was my trade here. Let me exit the replay just so you can see how it traded this year. Let me take out the volume bars. So yeah, this, just to show you the weekly chart. So yeah, this was when the dollar was strong after the Ukraine fighting broke out in March. So then USD was strong for pretty much all of April and then May. And Swiss franc was probably the second strongest currency this year. So it makes sense that these two pairs together ended up chopping back and forth. You know, just one taking the lead after another. But yeah, this was easily a 600, 700 pip trading range in terms of the weekly chart. And I was selling this daily downtrend, or not daily downtrend, but retracement on the daily time frame. Okay, so let me go back here. Okay, so in terms of the daily chart, I think I was looking for a sell-off back to the daily Kijun-sen after the previous day broke the Tenkan-sen downwards. So usually when it closes below the Tenkan-sen, it has a tendency to go back to the Kijun-sen, which is, you can say it's like the second level of support in terms of the Ichimoku indicator lines. But you also have to see how it closes. If it closes like close to the Kijun-sen, it could just be like a bounce, but not perfectly on the line. But I think this one had a pretty solid close below it. So let's look at the lower or mid time frames. Okay, so this is the 1 hour time frame. Okay, so I was probably seeing this sell off back in May 17. It rallied a little bit, but then went down again. So yeah, just from May 18th onwards, I saw like a head and shoulders setup. So there's like multiple heads, multiple shoulders here. But if you take like this level as the support level, I was essentially looking for a breakout of the 0.987 level. So yeah, if by the time I saw this was like a very weak bounce off of this neck level. So if you draw this here, this is like the shoulders, this is the head, this is the right shoulder. So yeah, if it went all the way up, like even halfway to this previous sell-off, then you know this further sell-off thesis might not be valid. But yeah, this was very weak buying by the bears here to try and recover this price. So, and then I sold right at the breakout at the London session open on May 19th. So let's see, what time did I sell? Okay, I sold exactly at 12:31. So that was like halfway into this forming 1 hour candle right here. So let's look at the 5-minute chart for how I entered here. Okay, so I was probably watching the chart during the Asian session. Usually it's quiet if it's not one of the Asian currencies. So yeah, there was no buying by the bulls here. And then I entered, let's see, oh, this is exactly midnight. So I entered at 12:31. So that was, okay, that was this candle here. Okay, so we saw the 5-minute breakout at the midnight candle. This 5-minute candle closed below the support right here. And then it continued for some time. And then I think I was waiting for some kind of a retracement, which was this 1225 candle right here. And then, yeah, this was my entry. So we see the Bollinger Bands expanding. Price is below the 20 SMA, which is this red line here. Stochastics, we had a death cross, actually even before midnight. So this is good to see. And I sold right here. The USD Swiss franc sold off for much of the London session. And then I think I trailed the stop loss probably. Yeah, up to here maybe. And then I exited at the New York session the following day. Let me see my notes to see if I wrote anything here. Okay, yeah, so this is the higher time frames as I just talked about. Okay, so 4 hour, I was following the 4 hour probably. So this closed below the Kumo. So this Kumo shows the trend in the longer time frame. So the price was able to go all the way below that, flip the Kumo into a bearish direction, and then we see the 4 hour Ichimoku lines pointing downwards. The lagging span is also pointing down. And then 1 hour, so yeah, 1 hour was bearish as well. So I was trading in the direction of the 1 hour, 4 hour time frames, with the idea in mind that it could retrace in the daily time frame. So yeah, this was exactly when I took the trade, the screenshots that I took here. Okay, and then it bounced, and then I was probably able to set my stop loss back to break even. And then let me see my exit here. Okay, yeah, so this was what I was seeing by the time I exited the trade. I think I saw the 5-minute time frame fail to make a new low. So it retraced around here, went down, but did not touch the previous low. And then I just got out of this trade here. Yeah, so overall, this was another good trade. It's different than the other trades I've shown here because this was actually a counter trend trade on the daily time frame, but I was still almost able to capture 100 pips, and this was a nice win here. Okay, so the last trade, trade number 6 here, was Swiss franc JPY back in September. So I took this trade on September 5th at 10:20 p.m. So this would have been right before London session open, like Tokyo close. And then I held this trade for almost a day. And okay, this was a big win. This was a 220 pip win for me and over an 11 pip win percentage wise to the account. I do remember this trade. I was actually, I took this trade first, Swiss franc JPY, and then the trend, the sell-off in the JPY was so strong. I think I had some other positions in USDJPY afterwards as well. And this was one of the trades that helped me pass the FTMO challenge. So you can see here my starting account balance was 193,000. And by the time I exited all my positions, I was over 220,000. So yeah, that would have been the 10% passing requirement for their phase 1 requirement. Okay, so let me see how I took this trade in my notes here. And again, here is the weekly chart to orient ourselves. Again, nice ascending triangle setup. So we are at the top of the triangle, about to break out. Weekly Kijun-sen is pointing upwards. It just bounced off the price, or the Tenkan-sen, which is also pointing upwards. Daily chart, looks like it is going to close in 15 hours at the time I was looking at this, and it was going into this previous top here without any response from the sellers. And taking a closer look at the 4-hour chart, it was already closing above the previous highs for 1, 2, 3 candles in a row. And this current 4-hour candle opened bullish. So that's another good indication. Higher lows, as we've been mentioning, that we'd like to see. Same highs, and then breakout is occurring right now. In terms of Ichimoku lines, they are pointing up. The Kumo is developing still, but the important thing I think I saw was the Kijun-sen was coming outside of the Kumo. So that means the midpoint equilibrium of the market is exceeding the long-term equilibrium of the market, indicated by this this Kumo right here. So yeah, in 1 hour, the previous candle looks like it was just bounced on the Tenkan-sen and strong buying in the previous 1 hour. So again, all these previous time frames are in the same upwards direction. And let's take a look at the 5-minute time frame. Okay, so 5-minute, we are right at the breakout here. We had strong buying, these big 5-minute candles causing the Bollinger Bands to expand. Stochastics, we have a gold cross. So yeah, it looks like I bought, let me check, what time did I buy? I bought at 10:20, so that was right at the open of this candle. So I think I saw this, these consecutive breakouts here, and then you know, a bearish candle that, you know, did not meaningfully push the price down any amount. So I was viewing this bearish candle as value to, you know, get a little bit better price. Obviously it could have come back down more, but that's why I set my stop loss to the previous lows. So we had this double bottom here, but I even picked this, you know, previous 5-minute candle wick to set it at 36 pips. And oh, here I actually took a picture of the currency strength chart at the time. So the reason why I traded Swiss franc JPY was, as you can see here, Swiss franc was stronger this whole day than the dollar, and both were strong against the JPY. So I just took the stronger one, Swiss franc JPY, and took that trade. Okay, what time was this? So it looks like the move went all the way up. This was like 50 pips move up. And then this was my entry here. Let me see. Okay, yeah, so I took this trade right here at the close to the end of the Tokyo session. And then when London opened, it just pushed the price all the way up. So I was able to set my stop loss to break even. And then this was, I think, the next day of trading. Yeah, so my entry was here. This was September 5, 2220 minutes. So this would have been the entirety of the London session. And yeah, I was just able to trail my stop loss continuously to the lows. Okay, I do remember why I exited this trade. Let me go to Swiss franc JPY. Okay, so this is the, I'll show you the weekly chart first, just to show you how it unfolded. But yeah, this was the weekly wedge breakout, ascending triangle breakout. So I captured this weekly bar right here. And it took, I think, 3 days, 5 days for the price to keep going up. And why did I exit here when the price was still going up? Let's take a look here. So I think I set my stop loss according to the P&L of my challenge. I would not normally trade like this, but I wanted to make sure I stayed profitable and completed the challenge. I didn't want the price to retrace on me for whatever reason and then take away my profits. And as it would happen, right as I set the stop loss for the challenge, the 5-minute chart retraced against me and then took out my positions. So I was actually watching like what level I would need to keep the 10% profits of the challenge. And I think it was around here somewhere. So yeah, I just set my stop loss here according to the previous low. And as luck would have it, volatility on the 5-minute time frame took me out. I didn't care though. I had passed the challenge at this point, and any more profits I would have generated would have been meaningless to me at that point. But if I was trading my own account or just outside of a challenge, I probably would have kept holding. There was no reason in the 1-hour time frame to exit right here. Everything is still bullish. The price continued on. So I would have probably kept trailing my stop loss up until maybe the next day. Yeah, here maybe could have been a reason why I exited. If you look at the 1-hour candles here, yeah, if it went flat here, I reasonably could have trailed my stop loss to 147 right here below these previous lows. And then, yeah, I might have gotten taken out by some of these wicks right here before the price kept going up. So this was like another 60 or 70 pips I reasonably could have made on this trade. But yeah, I already made 220 pips, so maybe 290 total. But yeah, this was my most profitable trade this year, and it was in Swiss franc JPY in September. So I hope you found this trade review helpful for all these trades. I encourage you to do your own yearly review of your trades and just pick out 3 to 5 trades that you did very well on. It doesn't have to be your most profitable, but it has to be trades where you followed your trading plan and you executed it correctly according to your plan. Even if you lost or you broke even, just pick out trades that you executed correctly and you did everything correctly to try and model your future trades based on that. This is how I made a lot of the progress and improvements to my own trading this year. I do like a weekly review of every trade that I took. So this is just a yearly review, just picking out all the best ones. So I have, yeah, like 5 really good ones, and then like a runner-up trade for a 6th one. So yeah, I'll do more videos to talk about maybe some goals I have for next year, 2023. I think my main improvement this year was I was able to be more consistently profitable. I was able to shrink my losses on my losing trades by a lot. My average loss, I think, is around 0.5%, usually not more than that unless something else goes wrong. But yeah, it's very important to keep your losses small. If you have, like a 0.25% loss or 0.5% loss, it's easy to make those up if you make, 2, 3, 4% on your wins. So yeah, never get discouraged by your losing trades. Instead, just go back, review them, figure out why you lost. Did you lose correctly? Was it a trade you should not have taken? And just try to incrementally improve every losing trade that you can cut out or reduce the loss on. Those are just more profits you can add to your P&L. And remember, all of these compound. So like if you win like 4.9% and then you win another 3%. Remember, these compound, so you have to multiply your account by 4%, and then you multiply the result by 3%. So it's more than just 7% if you were to add these together. And same thing goes in the other direction. If you lose, you have to compound those together. So, you know, 1% losses is more than a 2% loss to your entire account, if that makes sense. So anyway, yeah, hope you found this helpful. Leave a comment if you, or a like if you enjoyed this, or if you have some feedback for any other topics or ideas you would like to hear from me. All right, thank you.